This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 39, the movie review of X-Men Apocalypse. We will also be discussing the Warcraft trailer. I'm Graham Ricks, and here with me is my friend and co-pilot, Ian Jones.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I am doing all right. I have still been doing a lot of overtime, and so...
I'm glad you broke away to see this movie.
Yeah, right?
So, you ever have this happen to you, where you feel like your inner fanboy, like your knowledge of everything is so much greater than everyone else's around you? When someone else starts talking about something and they're clearly getting it wrong in like the biggest way possible.
Okay.
And like this is what happens every time I'm standing in one of those lines waiting to get into the actual movie theater.
Yeah.
Because it's piled up. So everyone's talking about the movie, and they're talking about comic books or storylines.
Yes.
And, there was this idiot talking about how Marvel bought Disney and like how this all went down.
Oh, are you
it's
kidding me?
Not even like, first of all, that part is entirely wrong, but he was just wrong about everything. And like he started going into the characters, and he was just getting stuff wrong about
man.
Apocalypse. And I just, I had my popcorn. And, I've been doing this diet, so I was really looking forward to having movie popcorn.
Yeah.
My favorite thing, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay. Layer that butter. And I just didn't want to waste spilling any of my popcorn to slap this guy in the face. Because he had acquired such an audience, too. Like, there were people standing around him. And I just wanted to run in there and dance him.
He had acquired an audience.
Yes, there are people listening to this moron. And it just made me think about like all the times something similar has happened in human history where people have gathered around a talking idiot and then listened to him and then gone forth and spread his knowledge. It amazes me that we ever got out of the Dark Ages, really.
Oh, that's terrible. There's a lot of little time periods where there was a guy, when I went to go see this freaking movie, there was a guy that was being probably the worst movie attendee I've ever had. Because he was like, he was sitting right in front of me, and he kept talking to... Like, I don't mind comments every once in a while. I mean, I prefer people just to shut up. But if you're going to have little comments every once in a while, I'm kind of okay with it. But he was just, like, having full-on conversations with, like, the person next to him. And I wanted to freaking punch him in the face.
During the movie?
During the movie. And then he's, like, texting during the movie.
Holy. So
he's, like, sitting there and he's texting during the movie. And then there's that scene where... they're talking about how there's some sort of beast in the cage, and then he goes like, oh, well, that's Colossus, and I was just like, I like he was just so freaking annoying, and then
that's Colossus,
and then he even took a phone call like during the movie.
Oh my goodness.
Like his phone rang and he like took it up and he started talking on it. But I mean, he left eventually, but I'm just like, what the hell is going on with this guy? It's just like annoys the hell out of me. I can't believe that guy. So annoyed. And by the way, why is it that lately I've been going to the movies and I go during time periods where there's almost nobody there? That's just how you and I are.
Yes.
But somehow I'll make sure there's nobody sitting behind me, but it never fails. Like, I even sit to the right a little bit, so I don't sit in the center.
Yeah.
So that people kind of would avoid sitting there, and somebody always sits behind me, and I swear, the past, like, 10 or 15 movies I've been to. And mind you, these are not children, but people have kicked the back of my seat. Nice. And I'm just like, about to freaking lose it, man. I'm just like, what the heck is going on? Why is it that this keeps happening?
We were in that class, and I cannot think of that guy's name, when we were in college together.
Yeah?
We were in that class where we talked about social norms.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that was one of the things that came up. Given, like, all things being equal, if you were to go and sit down in an empty movie theater, people will weirdly go and sit by you, even if
so
they
weird.
don't know you. They will just do that anyway. Now, I'm totally the opposite. I will see a group of people and be like, I don't want to sit anywhere near these guys.
That's exactly how I am. Right?
But most people will do it without realizing it. And I love that it's right behind you, and their legs are just long enough so that they're going to kick you every once in a while to remind you that they could have sat somewhere else. But they sat by you so that they could enjoy the off-center, the cant to their viewing experience. So I love that you're looking at it. You have consciously made the choice to sit off to the side.
Yes,
so
right.
No one, and you're fine with the angle.
Yeah, I'm okay with the.
People still beeline towards your vicinity anyway. Oh man.
Oh, it just annoys the heck out of me, man. Oh. And it's been happening like for the past 15, 20 movies I've seen. I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me.
You know what's funny is just kind of thinking back to when we used to go with groups of people to see movies, which we did all the time. We would go during the worst time that you could maybe go, like the midnight opening showing.
Yeah, the opening showing.
And I guess I didn't have an issue with the crowds then, because we knew we were going to have seats or whatever. Yeah. But I mean, those were always packed.
Oh, yeah, shows, all the way packed.
And it didn't matter if the movie was good or not anyway. I mean, man, did I want to walk out Ultraviolet.
That was the one I missed for you guys.
That was the one you missed.
Yeah, that was one of the ones you missed, and I was glad because everybody said that it was one of the worst movies ever made. And, I tried watching that movie. It, came on TV once or whatever, and I was trying to watch it, and it is just god awful. I couldn't make it through it.
It is.
It doesn't make any sense either.
And the reason why we stayed is because my roommate, who I was sitting right next to, not to sound sexist or anything, but he really wanted to see this one scene in the movie trailer where you get to see Mila's butt, not naked or anything. He just wanted to see this one shot.
Yeah, but that's in the trailer. Yes.
It's in the trailer, so you can just download the trailer. And I told him that during the movie. He fell asleep anyway. And here's the thing: he was sleeping through this movie. That's how bad it was. And at one point, I leaned over to him, and I almost never leave a movie theater. But I leaned over to him and I said, "Let's go." And he was like, "No, I want to stay until we see that shot." And he slept through it anyway. This other girl gets up and walks past me to leave. And she can't get past Corey because of his long legs.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Is he asleep?" And I shoved him away. I'm like, she's trying to get out of this movie theater.
Oh, man. Oh, that's terrible, man.
Those were the days. Yep, it's worth fighting through the crowds for this one.
Yep, didn't have to do it that time. Crap, we were way off topic.
All right, let's do it.
Wait a second. Okay, all right. So let's talk about Warcraft here. Jeez. I love how we just went on this long tangent.
10 minutes in. Let's finally get to the movie trailer.
The first thing I want to say about the Warcraft trailer is it actually looks like it looks really great and it looks entertaining as hell. And I think the visual effects on it are just great, right?
Oh, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I think the visuals on the orcs are good.
That's what I'm saying. The orcs are great, man.
But I think everything else looks really canned to me.
Well, yeah. But I'm
So-
referring to like the orcs in general, like the full CG characters.
Yes,
They
I think
look
it looked
great.
pretty good. I don't know. I mean, this one to me, I guess we'll see how it goes. You know, Warcraft is such a huge property.
Yeah, it's a gigantic property.
It would be a shame if they didn't have a good story to go along with it. And I just don't know.
Well, the thing is Warcraft has an amazing story to go with it. Whether they accomplish it in this movie or not is what I'm curious about. Because I know you aren't necessarily a Warcraft guy, right? I don't think you ever really played any of the games.
Admittedly, I think I've played it once.
So have you played... Which one did you play?
I don't know.
Okay, well...
Couldn't tell you.
You have Warcraft, there's Warcraft 2, there's Warcraft 3, and then there's World of Warcraft. And that story links up through every single one of those games. That's how massive the story is. So, the story is there. Whether they accomplish it is another question. And I'm really curious, because they're doing this movie and like Blizzard's kind of, you know, letting them do this or whatever, I really feel like I'm curious whether they're going to explain the story properly, or are they going to assume that you've played like the games and all they care about is those fans? If that makes any sense. So with that said, I feel like there could be a huge problem with this movie if they decide to go the other direction, because there's a lot of people. I get that they have a lot of fans and a lot of people who play like World of Warcraft, including me, because our buddy Mark got me playing World of Warcraft. It's a massive story, and even I don't like know that much about it because I've only been playing it recently. But there's a ton of books and everything, like, and it all links up. They make sure everything's canon. So the story is massive, and so I just hope that they don't like assume that you've played everything, because it's such a massive thing. They really need to kind of, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm really curious about whether they do that or not.
I mean, the thing I'm worried about, which I'm gonna bet you right now, and we'll come back to this. The thing I'm worried about is that they're not gonna take in all the layers that they've built, because, you know, I have to assume that it is pretty in depth.
Yes, it's very in depth,
and that they're just gonna, you know, it's just gonna go Hollywood, where it's kind of a generic story.
Oh God, I sure hope not.
What it looks like from the trailers.
I really hope not. Like, that would be very disappointing if they did that. That would be disastrous, because it's such an in-depth story, and they could make like 10 of these movies if they wanted to. I mean, the story is easily as massive as like Lord of the Rings. Like, you could easily just go on and make 6, 7, 8 movies off of this. You could easily do it with this franchise. So that would be devastating if they just Hollywooded it up, which, now that you say that, I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. That kind of disappoints me, because
whatever. Disappoints me too, which is why I had to think it.
So I don't know. That sounds awful. Because what's gonna happen if that happens? That means that this movie's gonna flop, and we're not gonna get another one and really get deep into what an amazing story that Warcraft has. So,
you know, it's a really good name, though. It's a really good brand. There's no way they don't get another movie.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure. Even if this... And I think this one will make money, for sure.
Okay.
But, you know, they'll come back to it. It's like how people keep trying to... You know, like, even the Hitman franchise keeps getting
redone,
man. You know?
But that one doesn't even have that much of a massive story.
No. Well, it has zero story. The guy's non-existent.
Pretty much. So I don't even know about that.
But, yeah. So, anyway.
All right.
We'll check it out.
Yeah, we'll check it out. We'll see it. God, that's just disappointing as hell. And by the way, I believe we should get Levy for that one, for that podcast. Just
Excellent.
so that you know.
Well, that'll be good to have a couple of guys who speak the language.
Yeah, he's way more into it. He's been playing it pretty much since its start of World of Warcraft. He came in like a couple of years after the start of the game, so he's hardcore into it. All right, so let's go ahead and move this podcast along. Holy crap, we are way too far in. So let's take a break.
We're gonna miss that half an hour mark.
Oh yeah. Let's take a break and then we'll go ahead and get into the movie review. With the emergence of the world's first mutant apocalypse, the X-Men must unite to defend his extinction level plan. Extinction level plan?
Extinction.
There you go.
Okay. Extension level plan.
Oh, good read. I'm not even going to do it over again. This movie's directed by Bryan Singer, who is known for The Usual Suspects, the rest of the X-Men movies, except for Last Stand. So he's always been there for the good ones.
Yes.
And
not that franchise killing one.
And then Superman Returns, which...
Hey, I think you guys would like to see a Superman love story where he doesn't punch anyone.
Oh, it's...
You're wrong, Singer.
Disastrous.
Go back to X-Men, please.
Oh. Starring James McAvoy as Professor Charles Xavier. He was in The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Last King of Scotland, and Wanted, which I always liked that movie. That was one of those just like kind of entertaining movies.
Yeah.
It's not good, but you know. Michael Fassbender as Eric Lesnar / Magneto. Lensher, sorry. Holy crap.
What is going on with your reading right now?
Wow, this is the worst reading I've done. / Magneto. He was in Band of Brothers and Glorious Bastards and Prometheus. Jennifer Lawrence is Raven / Mystique, Hunger Games, Silver Linings Playbook, and American Hustle. Nicholas Hoult is Hank McCoy / Beast, which he was in Clash of Titans, Jack the Giant Slayer, that fun movie, and Mad Max Fury Road, which you couldn't stand that movie. Nope. And you know what? Mark didn't like that movie at all either.
It sucks, and I go into great depth as to why.
I'm pretty sure that's like episode 3 or something like that of this podcast. If you want to go in and hear that information.
I hammered it. It deservingly so.
Oscar Isaac as, okay, help me out here, Insa Nur.
Yep, you got it.
Okay, I got that one / Apocalypse. He's been in Robin Hood, Sucker Punch, and of course, Poe Dameron, Star Wars The Force Awakens.
That's Poe Dameron. We've got him till 2020, it looks like.
It's awesome.
From what he says, he's going to make it through 6 movies.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Rose Byrne as Moira McTaggart. She was in Troy 28 Weeks Later and Insidious. Evan Peters as Peter Maximoff / Quicksilver, who was in Invasion, American Horror Story, and Kick-Ass. Josh Hellman as Colonel William Stryker. He was in Jack Reacher, X-Men Days of Future Past, and of course Mad Max Fury Road again. Sophie Turner as Jean Grey. She was in Another Me, Barely Lethal, and of course she's most known for as Sansa Stark in Game of Thrones. Ty Sheridan as Scott Summers / Cyclops. He was in Mud, Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, and he will be the lead in Spielberg's interpretation of Ready Player One, which should be fantastic.
Okay, that's a really good sci-fi book.
Yes, it is. I've only heard how great it is. I have not read it yet. I want to read it.
It is totally worth it.
Okay, I'll definitely get it and read it. And I mean, it just sounds awesome anyway. Everybody explaining me the story is just like, oh, this just sounds great. So I think we're supposed to get that in 2018. That's all the characters, so let's take another quick break here, and then we will get into the meat of the podcast here with our quirks and likes. All right, we're back here with our quirks and likes sections. Let's go ahead and start out. All right, so the first thing I want to say is Havoc dead? Is he just dead?
Yes.
Okay,
he is.
So why is there no love for Havoc in this movie? It's like he dies and there's no like there's not really a take a moment. And actually, when you find out about it, because he dies in the explosion, right? Well, Quicksilver, there's this really crazy Quicksilver scene, and they ask, when he saves everybody and then he comes back, there's this like really kind of jokey way he says, well, I think I got everybody. And so it makes it seem even worse that nobody gives a shit that Havoc just died.
Only his brother, I guess.
Right? It's just like such a weird scene. When I watched that scene, I'm like, wow, there's just like even freaking Cyclops really didn't, like, he had a moment, but it's like it just doesn't seem like it was really that much of a big deal that Havoc just got killed. And for him to be such a big part of like the other movies, it just seems like, god damn, what the hell?
Well, and they never do him. They never get him right anyway. You know, I mean, they don't do his powers right. And you and I have talked about this on a podcast.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I don't understand why they changed these guys' powers and then like do them in a way that doesn't make any sense. You know,
what do you mean?
Like his powers don't shoot out of his chest. They're supposed to come out of his hands. And
well,
so they've never gotten him.
But
right.
Which is what he did in First Class.
No, he never does.
Yes, he does. At the very
he always slings them around his chest.
At the very end of the movie, when he is forced to use his powers because the thing blows off, the thing that generates his powers in his chest, it explodes off, remember?
Yes.
But he still uses his powers to defend somebody, and it goes right out of his hands. It was the only time they got it right. It was the last time you saw him use his powers. That was it. The thing that I don't...
in a hula hoop.
The only thing I don't understand is that they didn't really continue that in this movie.
No.
Because it comes out of his hands the one time in First Class. So I don't understand why in this one it's just kind of like, whatever. So...
And then they kill him.
Which, you know, Havoc dies anyway. But still, it's just... it just seems like such a weird thing. The other thing I want to say about this movie that I did not like was I really didn't like the really quick and forced killing of Magneto's family.
Yes. Okay.
That seemed extremely forced in the movie, and all it does is it leads you to believe... All it does is it leads him to go towards something else. So it basically makes him where he's not a bad guy again. And that's pretty much the only reason why it's there. And then it pisses you off a little bit more because his daughter has powers.
Yes.
Which is the legal problem. So the legal problem comes up again, like in this movie. And that really bothers the hell out of me.
Well... True, but so Quicksilver was carrying a young girl in the first one, in First Class.
Yes.
So you kind of have to assume that that's Scarlet Witch, right?
Yes.
But then they have this little girl
yes.
who kind of has, which is where you're going with this.
Yes.
Sort of has maybe those abilities. She can talk to animals and control them.
Yes.
So, yeah, it does seem like they just basically killed off Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, right? So that really bothers me. So there's that too. So it's like you have two franchises going where instead of having them linked because of these problems, they just kill off the opposite character, right? Like it's just like so in the Avengers, you kill
I didn't
Quicksilver.
think about that. Yeah, you're right.
And then in X-Men you kill Scarlet Witch, and I'm just like, well, what the hell?
Maybe they can do a
on?
crossover and reunite this family.
I don't know.
We would like to introduce you to your brother, who is a completely different person from a different universe.
It's disastrous, and I don't know how they're gonna fix that. I'm assuming we're just never gonna get a link up between X-Men and this awesome Marvel universe that's been created. So it is what it is. The other problem I have with this movie is I really didn't feel like Apocalypse with him getting the 4 horsemen, essentially. It's like, it seems like through the whole movie, every time he gets one of them, they're just like, okay, I'll go with you now. And that was like it. There was no fighting for it. They're just like, oh, I feel more powerful now. I'm going with you. And that's what it felt like. So I was really disappointed in that. It doesn't seem like he has a power over them at all. They're just like, here's strength, and I guess we're with you now. And then that just bothered the hell out of me. It was like such a sudden change into being the part of the 4 horsemen. So
in the comic books, the way that it goes down is he usually chooses a horseman that needs something.
Yes.
And they kind of touched on it with Angel, but Angel
yes, they did.
in the comic books gets his wings completely ripped off.
Yes, he does.
So essentially he's a mutant with no abilities, and he goes into a really dark state, and so he gets a total makeover from Apocalypse. Wolverine gets his adamantium completely ripped out of his body from Magneto, and even though Wolverine is still a mutant, still has his other abilities and still has bony claws.
Yeah.
Apocalypse is able to say, hey, and give him his adamantium back, which is something he feels that he needs. So there's something psychological there that I think you have a point. They don't, maybe Eric Lenscher was really the one person who maybe needed it.
Yes.
The most. But, I guess the only thing I would say to counter that is maybe they're all lost and looking to follow someone. Certainly, I think Storm was maybe the one who made sense, but he lies to her.
Yes, he does.
And so wouldn't she have figured it out at some point along the way that he wasn't a hero, that he wasn't the good guy while they're doing all this? I mean,
you would think. I just don't. It's this part of this movie really freaking bothers me because it's a major part of the Apocalypse storyline, and throughout when you read the comic books, it is a very psychological thing, like you're saying, and so it's just way more of an extensive story. And I almost wish that we could feel like you could get some of that from these characters, but they don't do it at all. It's like they just kind of join them, and it really just bothers me about it. And I mean, you could definitely take the argument that they're all lost and they need somebody to follow, but it's like, why are they blindly following him? Usually, even if you're lost, you're not going to just blindly follow somebody unless you're really lost. And they didn't play on them being extremely lost. It's just kind of sudden and happens. And so that part of this movie is probably one of my biggest issues in this movie. The only thing I have to say left, and then we'll get into your quirks, man, is I honestly felt like this movie was kind of a step backwards from the last two. And although I feel like it introduced some more characters where we could, get something going here, I was just really kind of disappointed, to be honest. And I guess we'll just talk through your quirks, man, and we'll see how it is. So let's go ahead.
Well, there was one thing I was going to add about Magneto's family real quick.
All right.
And that is, why wouldn't he have sent his daughter to the academy, to Charles?
I have no idea, and the only thing I can think of is him and Charles are clearly still having issues, and he still disagrees with him. And I think that's the only reason why he wouldn't do that. But the other thing is, I mean, was this the first time that he saw her powers? As far as he knows, she might not have been a mutant.
Well, I mean, I would think that maybe he would have an idea, right?
Well, that's
I don't know.
That's a lot of like you're assuming a lot in that. Right. In terms of the movie, it seemed to me like that was the first time they had seen her powers, but again, maybe that's a direction problem. Maybe the storytelling aspect wasn't that great for that. So
so why was Hank building a bomb under the basement of the mansion?
I have no idea.
He made the yield just perfect enough so it would take the whole damn thing down. With these kids and their powers, it just doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
And I mean, it just blew the hell out of that place perfectly.
Yes, it did.
It not even a little bit of it was left standing.
No, it was completely destroyed.
I don't get why Mystique or Hank would be hiding in plain sight. It just doesn't. I guess to a point it makes sense for Beast because he's always tinkering with his genetics.
Yes.
But it seems to me if they're around other mutants, it betrays the whole point of them being mutants and being in the struggle if they're just going to hide who they really are. And it also doesn't line up with the end of the first movie. Like it doesn't line up with anything what they come to believe about themselves.
The thing the way I took that was that as far as Mystique's concerned, she's finding mutants and getting them. And so she would have to hide in plain sight in order for her to go to infiltrate these different areas, because that's how she finds like Nightcrawler or whatever.
Which is fine.
To me, that makes sense that she would be hiding in plain sight. Now, once she's around the other mutants, like at the mansion,
yes,
you'd think she would just change to the way she normally is, but that's not how it's done.
When the kids sneak into that helicopter and have their powers stripped, to me this is one of those things you write when you're writing stories, and it's a huge issue. It's almost such a big issue that you've just written yourself into a corner.
Yeah.
That you have to gloss over the fact that how are they getting out of that that helicopter without their abilities?
Yes.
Like they should have been caught right there, and yet they're sneaking around the facility.
Yeah.
So I mean that's sort of just a big issue that they just jump right over.
Oh yeah.
And I was just like, ugh. They should have opened that thing up. And then like, oh, look what we caught here.
Yep.
Apocalypse doesn't grow in the final fight. And
no, he grows in Charles's mind.
This is a huge problem for me. And I felt like I knew what was going to happen. And I wanted to see Apocalypse use all of his abilities. And it didn't. There was this one really badass part of him that was totally missing, and he should have been huge.
Yeah.
And he just wasn't at the end of that fight. So,
no.
And the other thing, so let's just put the fanboy stuff aside. But they finally had Psylocke, who was my favorite X-Men, in a movie, and they didn't do her justice. They didn't really do Archangel justice either, especially the way that things ended for him.
Yes.
But Psylocke has this weird scene where she just walks away, and they cut back to her, and she's just like glaring at him, like she's giving him the stink eye.
Yep.
And then she's gone.
Yep.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, it just seems like these are good guys here. who are all fighting each other.
Yes.
It should have taken all of them to turn around.
Which, by the way, is
defeat
the third
Apocalypse.
movie we've seen this year where that's a thing.
With the same thing.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that aside, and the last thing, which I'm gonna say, someone already called me out on it, but I have to say it anyway. Magneto and Jean using their powers to rebuild the school. Neither of them have a background in construction, so I wouldn't step one foot in that thing. And it's like expertly crafted. It makes no sense at all, and it just makes me want to slap. It's like, oh, we ran out of ideas. They're just gonna use it. We'll film one scene with them flying in the air and putting it back together.
I was annoyed in general of them blowing up the mansion, to be honest.
Right.
To be honest with you. The minute they blew it up, I was like, okay, this is starting to feel, and this is kind of what I meant by it feels like a step backwards, because it's like, this is where I'm like, okay, this is starting to feel like Last Stand. And I don't like it at all. It's like they're starting to just like destroy things and kill things that I don't like. And and in the middle of the movie, that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, God, man, why does this feel like I'm getting more of a hint of Last Stand than what I should be? The last movie corrected that problem. Okay? We fixed it. It's fine now. The timeline is now correct. We've solved everything. It's fine now. And then you're going to make this movie where I'm getting this inkling of Last Stand. I'm like, let's just move forward. We need to move forward away from that movie. And so I that just like really annoyed me in this movie. So I totally get your point. God dang it. He got any other quirks?
We still they do nothing with Jubilee. I don't understand how there's this huge character in the comic books and she's just only ever there with a yellow jacket on.
Well, I mean,
oh, God damn you, Brian Singer.
I mean, the thing about Jubilee is such a weak mutant anyway. So,
that doesn't matter though. That isn't the point.
The only thing I would have expected more from Jubilee is if there was some sort of scene where she shows her powers that are just fireworks, basically. And so I don't know. I just I don't know, man. I get your point though. I haven't read the comic books in a long time, but apparently Jubilee's a vampire now.
Okay.
Which is weird. So in other words, if you feel like going through that storyline to see how the hell that happened, you can go ahead and do that if you'd like.
Well, I could skip to the end where she gets bit by the vampire.
There you go.
Right?
Any other quirks?
No, that's it for me.
All right, let's go ahead and get the likes. The first thing I want to say is I did enjoy Oscar Isaac's interpretation of Apocalypse. I thought it was pretty good. I definitely like that they chose to do like the voice modulation every once in a while, which kind of doesn't make any sense, but it reminded me of the old TV series. So it was like more of a nostalgia thing more than anything else. I thought the Quicksilver scene I thought it was really fun to watch. But to me, I felt like it was too long. It was a really big part of the movie.
Long.
It was very long. I thought it was kind of interesting in how they did it and everything, but I mean, it's such a long sequence that I almost kind of like think they overdid it.
I agree with that, by the way.
Okay. The other thing is, I thought, even though it's kind of weird to add Wolverine into the movie, I thought that was a very interesting scene. It almost felt like it was filmed kind of a different way, because they spent a lot of time just like not showing you things because it was such a violent scene.
Yes. Yeah.
And so it was almost filmed a different way, but I definitely liked that scene because it was a pretty interesting scene, and seeing him run off and then have some sort of connection with Jean Grey, I thought was pretty interesting. So that's all I have, man. What do you got?
Yeah, so I did enjoy the Quicksilver scene, but I think you're right about that. I really enjoyed that they finally referred to Wolverine as Weapon X.
Yes.
And, I thought that scene kind of took away from, I thought it was really good, but I kind of felt like we needed to see that in some other movie much sooner.
Yes, I do too.